The image of the caveman with a spear in hand and a chunk of meat on the fire that's mostly an invention. I'll show you what we actually know, and one of these findings will change the way you see your own brain. Okay, here is what we actually know. Number 7. The myth millions believe. The paleo diet has built an entire industry on one idea that our ancestors were primarily meat eaters, hunting through the savannah carnivores through and through. The problem is this image is almost entirely invented. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, such as the Hadza in Tanzania, show that around 70% of their calories come from plant-based food. Roots, tubers, berries, honey. Meat gets all the attention, but plants secured survival. Then came Amanda Henry from the Max Planck Institute. She analyzed fossilized dental plaque from hominins, real ancient dental plaque, and found starch granules from various plant species. Not once, not accidentally, but consistently across all sites. Plants weren't a side note. They were central to the diet. So the next time someone at a dinner party talks about eating like a caveman, you can gently point out that their caveman was probably 70% root vegetables. Honestly, that might still be trending. The carnivore myth is a modern fantasy. The actual diet was built underground. Which brings us to what was actually on that ancient menu. And here things get really strange. Number 6. The truth nobody wants to hear. In 2016, Karen Hardy, ICRIE research professor at the Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, examined dental calculus from Cima del Elefante, a site in northern Spain with remains 1.2 million years old. What her team found in the dental calculus of these early Europeans: plant fibers, insect fragments, raw animal tissue. No sign of fire, none. 1.5 million years without fire. That was simply life. I'll admit when I first read this, I thought something must be wrong. But dental calculus preserves the chemical composition of everything those teeth ever touched. It doesn't distort anything. And Hardy's conclusion was clear: these early humans understood their environment, used it deliberately, and ate a balanced diet for over 1 million years without a single fire. They weren't desperate. They had a system. And in that system, something appeared that you'd probably reject immediately today. Number 5. The protein source you'd reject immediately. In that same dental calculus, Hardy's team examined there were insect fragments, and they weren't contamination. They were food. A consistent protein source actively sought, regularly consumed. Before you dismiss that as desperation, globally, around 2 billion people today regularly eat insects. Protein-rich, easy-to-catch, available, year-round, no tools required. If you design a prehistoric nutrition system without the cultural reflexes of the 21st century, insects unquestionably belong in it. My brain still resists the idea. But that's a 2026 reaction, not an evolutionary one. For a hominin 1.2 million years ago, a larva was simply 100 calories of pure protein. The disgust is a modern invention. The efficiency is as old as hunger itself. But these early humans weren't just passively foraging. They had tools, and they used them for something very specific. Number 4. The bone that revealed everything. It wasn't a spectacular skull find. It was a split femur, an animal's 2.6 million years old, in the Ethiopian ground, right next to a stone tool. Archaeologists found such bones at multiple sites, each with the same clean-cut marks, each next to the same tool type. Purpose: access to bone marrow. Bone marrow has a caloric density almost unmatched in nature. Fat, protein, and nutrients packed into the part of the carcass that big cats usually left behind. Early hominins realized they could feed on what the actual hunters ignored. This was probably not a grand strategy. It was a discovery that proved itself, got refined, and was passed down over hundreds of generations. And constant access to that high-density fat is among the most likely triggers for early brain growth. 2 million years of brain development. And somewhere at the start, someone simply cracked a bone open. If you're looking for biological evidence that survives millions of years, you look at teeth. Number 3. The tooth that rewrote history. In 2025, a team from Dartmouth University, led by Luke Fannin and Nathaniel Dominy, published a study in Science. They reconstructed the diet of early hominins using isotope analyses of fossil teeth, and what they found turns conventional evolutionary logic on its head. Early hominins were already eating grasses, sedges, and carbohydrate-rich underground plant material long before their teeth had anatomically adapted to processing it. The behavior came first. They chewed through tough plant material before their jaws were built for it, because the caloric yield justified the mechanical effort. As Fannin described it, a pivotal moment in our evolution. Not a gradual adaptation, a specific turning point at which diet changed the body, not the other way around. They changed what they ate first. Their skeletons took the next 100,000 years to catch up. Your ancestors decided. Their bodies figured it out afterward. One single food may be responsible for more of that change than anything else combined. Number 2. The underground food that shaped a species. In evolutionary biology, it officially goes by the most unremarkable name, underground storage organ. What it meant for the history of our species is a different story entirely. Richard Wrangham of Harvard University has argued for decades that the transition to cooking tubers was a turning point. Raw tubers are tough, fibrous, and low in calories. Cooked tubers are soft, digestible, and energy-dense qualities raw plant material rarely achieves. When early hominins began applying heat, they unlocked an energy boost that changed anatomy from the inside out, starting with the gut. The Dartmouth study from 2025 puts a timeline on it. The shift to underground plant foods began around 2.3 million years ago. Before reliable fire use, before systematic cooking, before the genus Homo had fully emerged. Wrangham goes further. The hearth became a meeting point. Shared meals became the foundation of trust. Perhaps eventually of language too. The humble tuber may have invented communal eating. Nobody mentions that when this story gets told. And with that, we come to the one point that ties everything together. Number 1. The trade your body made without your consent. In 1995, Leslie Ello and Peter Wheeler published a paper in Current Anthropology. 30 years later, it still ranks among the quietest and most unsettling ideas in evolutionary biology. They call it the expensive tissue hypothesis. Your brain makes up 2% of your body weight. It consumes 20% of your total body energy. That imbalance, 20% for 2% of body mass, is a permanent, enormous energy expense. For much of evolutionary history, the gut carried a similar cost. Keeping the entire digestive system running, maintaining fermentation processes, sustaining the large intestine, all of it burns calories constantly just to stay functional. The hypothesis, as early hominins began eating more energy, dense foods, cooked tubers, bone marrow meat, they needed less gut. The gut shrank. The calories freed up by that shrinkage flowed into the brain instead. Homo erectus, around 1.9 million years ago, shows exactly this in the fossil record: smaller gut, larger brain, both changes appearing together over time. Your body neglected your digestive system to fund your nervous system. And it didn't consult you before making that decision. Somewhere in your family tree, someone ate something so nutrient-dense that their gut shrank and their brain grew. You are the result. We talk about evolution like it was something that happened to other creatures, something in a museum behind glass. But every single fact in this countdown happened inside a body that was just trying to make it through the day. No plan, no blueprint, just hunger and whatever worked. The gut-brain trade wasn't a choice. The insect wasn't a delicacy. The cracked bone wasn't a discovery anyone wrote down. And yet, here you are, with a brain large enough to sit and wonder how it got this way. That's not nothing. That's the whole story.